Hello there, welcome back to the Technology Innovation Hub. So it's a session from DevOps portal. I think we have almost completed 3 sessions. That is on the building a basic CI/CD pipeline. So let's continue to session 4. Yeah, let me share the screen. In the last session, we just pulled the Docker image. I remember, right? So we were doing this in the last session. So, and we were able to get the Jenkins container up and running, right? You may remember we ran this one, right? And our Jenkins container was up and running. Yes, so as of now, you can see it is up and running. Right. So let's get familiar with the environment a little bit. Now we need to connect to Jenkins server and start doing some certain configurations, right? So, and let's get familiar a little bit now. I just take a look at the Jenkins official document for pulling their image, right? So if you take a look at it, you can see here, this is downloading and running Jenkins in Docker. Yeah, this is the official one, official document guideline. So if you go down, the same steps that we followed, Docker network create, we create the network, I explain those things, and this is stuff I explained. We'll get back to this in more detail later, but for the time being, let me show you the command. So this is the Docker in Docker, right? DIND, right? We had the same command here. DIND, we had that, right? So Docker in Docker. And after that, actually they have done a change. So that's what I was just want to highlight here. They have done a small change. This was not there when I doing the recording sometime back previously. And this is, they're introducing something called localizing the image, right? Because normally what we used to do using the command, we can, using this command, we right away pull their official image, this one, Jenkins blue version. That's what we did, right? But now what they are telling is just to run this particular command set within a Docker file. If you don't know what is a Docker file and not, but I'm just telling you, I mean, so that you can start just searching what are the things they are telling. We learn those things in more detail with the separate Docker session. So what they ask you to do with this content, include this content in a file called Docker file. You can see, build a new Docker image from this Docker file and assign a meaningful name. So what we can do, if we really want to do this one, we can just create a file and copy and paste this content. Right? So Docker file is nothing much. It's just a configuration on how to compose the image. So we are telling is composing the image, right? So composing the image means we are just embedding certain applications and integrating those things and creating those communications with each other, applications, and building it as a simple one application. That is what composing image. So now, for example, within this Docker file, you can see initially say from Jenkins. So it's going to go to the Jenkins base image and it's going to pull that one. So, and again, it will include go to user root and run certain like this. There are certain updates also happening, and it will check these sites. And likewise, certain, don't worry about this content. I'm not going to explain as well. So later we will learn. So this is, we can say, kind of a YAML kind of a language, YAML language. We will learn those stuff later, because those are the languages where when you automate the infrastructure as code, IAC, there is something called infrastructure as code, right? So using language like YAML, we have Terraform, a lot of things are there. So those are very basic syntaxes, not like the normal programming language. So we can write a simple code like this and we can automate certainly. So ultimately what will happen, using the Docker file. You need to include this content in a Docker file. Let me show you just for you to get an idea. So this is I just did this one. If I just run ls, so I have a Docker file here. We have Docker file is right? ls -f. I have the Docker file just for testing purpose. I just did this, right? And just a file, just like a vi Docker file. So the content is same. Just copy it, right? No big deal. You can just run vi and Docker file, and there can be one Docker file for a particular directory, right? And after that, what they're asking is to run this command. So just create a file like that, include the content, and they're asking docker build -t my Jenkins and dot. Dot means you have the Docker file in the same directory, right? So for example, if I run this one from here, so I can very simply copy this one. If I just copy this one, what will happen? It will start running. Very simple, because my Docker file is in the same directory. So I'm in the same place. So I can just say docker build just to start composing the image, and the name, the particular image will be tagged with this name. That is, we are telling us tag in the image, giving a proper name, right? So there's a standard naming convention. You can see there's a name, right? After that colon and the version 1.1. We'll learn those stuff later. Actually, this should carry the repository name where the image is going to store. That is okay, right? So Docker build is to compose the image. Compose means build a image using the content of the Docker file and using the base image from Jenkins official site, official repository actually. So what it does, it will just build and pull, and it will create a local copy for you. The local copy name is this. That's what's going to happen if you do this, right? So that is what they ask you to do in the particular their guide, and you can see if you just go to it, build a new image, meaningful name, example. Keep in mind that this process described above will automatically download the official Jenkins Docker, and yeah, so it will download. It's going to download and it's going to tag it in your local machine like this. And so that's a new thing that they have incorporated. But if you want to try this, you can try it. But doesn't matter. It does the same thing what it did here, right? So we are using a short method here. This method also they have published in their site some time back, but now they are telling you to do it in that way. But it's the same thing, because I just tested this one several times, this method, but it's certain times it gets hangs because it's going through steps 1 to 9. So I can show you. I think I had the output. This is for reference I am telling. If you want, you can try, but you might get the same experience, right? Let me just show you. I have that. Yeah. So this is the command. You can see I just executed docker build -t, whatever name, dot. And it's starting, is going to this step. Step 1 from Jenkins. It will go to, this is composing process. It will go to multiple steps, because in this file, you can see there are lines, no, right? There are lines. So for each line, normally it does a step. We can't say it's 100%, but whenever there's a run, that means it goes to a step, right? And from also that's the starting. From means the starting point. Then the from always will carry a base image, right? Don't worry about those. We will learn more detail later. But you can see going through all these steps, and this process continues. It will take a lot of time, because composing an image will take time, and at the end you are going to have around 700 MB image. But it hangs on certain places, so don't worry about this. So if you want, you can try for learning purpose. Other than that, we are fine with our method, right? The method that I was explained yesterday to pull the Jenkins image, right? So just to explain that one, and that's now they are telling to do that. And after that, so once you get this image locally downloaded, then they are asking to run, right? So this is the explanation for that. And now you can see the same thing. Now here the difference is with our command. So if I copy this one, let's get the difference. What is this and our command, right? So let me just paste it here. So if I paste it here, I can compare the difference and see. It's the same thing it does, right? And detach and those things. This is the I mean, you can see encrypted communication port. Yesterday I explained a bit, right? With the Docker daemon 27, 2376, right? And this one, that also they are in our command, and here this one also there, and this one also there. The only exception is the name. Now, since this image is being pulled automatically with the previous composing process, we can just run it, right? But in our case, since we are not composing it, we are just pulling and running at once with this command, pulling the image and running it, right? So what we are pulling is the official image, this one. But here, localized image, we just pull previously, we first pull, then we run. Okay, so that's the difference. But since this process, composing process takes a long time, we'll stick to this command. There's no issue with that. Okay. Right. Hope is clear, because why I just explain, because if you go to the official side, if somebody want to compare with our process, you might get confused a bit, but it's the same thing ultimately. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at it now. Let's get more familiar with our environment, right? So ultimately, as I said, now we have Docker PS. Let's enhance the command a bit. Let's say -a, right? So we have been using Docker PS. PS is to list the containers which are up and running. PS, right? Listing the container up and -a will give you the containers which are not running, but the images are available. Okay. So at the moment I don't have such, because I did a clean up earlier. So because I had a lot of images, I wanted to clean everything. So at the moment I am having -a and PS output both are same, like it's okay. Later we will check it again. Even if the images are not running, if you want to see the image, even if the containers are not running, you want to see the containers and they're not running, you can say -a, right? Right. So that's that. And now let's do something like this. Yesterday I mentioned about this rm detach command. You may remember. Now I have the container up and running now, right? So now let me do something like this. I'm going to stop it, right? Let's get familiar with our environment. I'm going to stop, say Docker stop. What I'm going to stop? I'm going to stop my container which is up and running. This one, right? I'm going to stop it. What I'm using to stop? My container ID. This is my container ID. I'm going to stop it. So stop means it is no longer running, right? So I just run the ps command. So now you can see only I think this is the minikube one, right? So yeah, so you don't have the Jenkins Blue Ocean one is running, which was earlier there. Now it's not there. I have stopped it. Now let me try to start it again. So I'm trying to start. See what happens. Okay, let me use this. This is now this command. I'm going to delete it because we don't have such image called 1.1. And I'm going to use this command. Now I'm going to use, now see, I don't have detach here, right? rm detach is not there, right? So I'm going to run this one. See what happens. So let's see. Yeah, it's going to show me some output. Right? So yes, last session you may remember when we just ran, right? I think I don't may not, but in the document we have that output. You may remember it just mentioning like this. Sometimes even if the image available locally, it might not go to this process, right? Because then it will right away run. You saw it in the last video. So without giving any output, it just tells, okay, this is the ID. Now, what is this ID? This ID is not the image ID. This is the ID which is related to the running container related to the storage. You will learn it later, right? So it will give this ID. That's it. It does. It will just display this ID. But today now you can see when I just ran, when I just remove this rm detach component. Now this command we have ran with rm detach, right? Yeah, because I have copied it and in between. You may remember the original command of this. Once you ran this command, it will say rm detach. So therefore, it will not give you any output. It will right away give only this ID which is related to the container storage. Only this ID. Right? But if I run it without telling this, I don't want to detach, and I don't want to remove the container once I stop, right? So those are the meanings of the RM and detach. So then what's going to happen? You can see it shows me output like this. What is the output? It says it telling me that it's actually this is a log file, right? When Jenkins starting, there's a log, right? So the output of the log file is given, and it shows me the details. And now it's telling me you can use it because this is the very first time I am pulling it, because I removed off every container, because last session you didn't see this output because I wanted to show you this output. I removed all the my existing Jenkins image containers and I pulled it originally. So therefore now I can see it is asking for the very first time, the first time password. Let's see this one. Let's connect using this password and then you really understand. But what I want to tell you here, it shows me the output of the log file, and now it says Jenkins is fully up and running. Right? This is because I asked him not to disconnect. Now see, it's holding on my session, right? Because I asked him not to detach. I didn't give this option. So that's why if I give detach, what will happen? It will return me the control of my prompt. Otherwise, it will not return me the prompt, right? So it will hang on like this, right? Now, if I go and check from here, now let's say we run docker ps command from here, you can see Jenkins is running here now. No problem, because because I started. Right now, but I don't have a control here because I can't type commands here because it's been like hanging on, because I didn't ask him to detach after running. So it's keep on the control from the Docker daemon side. It's not giving me. So if I press Control C, it will now it's breaking off. But once it breaks, the process, what it says, terminating and shutting down. So it's terminating because then it's stopping the container. Now if I check back here, I won't be able to see the container. See, it's gone now. Right? Because that's what happens if you don't run the detach. If you don't run in the detached mode, it will keep on hanging the session, but the container is running in behind. So it's not a good practice to do that. And so that's why I always use the detach command. And RM is something like this. That is the explanation for detach syntax, right? So if I try to run --rm, right? So now I just use this command, right? So that is the command I ran, right? If I go back and see, I didn't give that option, right? Just ran. I didn't give -rm -1 detach is not there. And now the container is stopped now, right? Now you can't see the container, right? Okay, let me rerun it. Right? Let me rerun it. I want to run it again, right? Now container is stopped. Now I want to run it again. Now, okay, let me, this time let me run this. Right? I'm going to now include RM and detach. Okay. Now if I run it again, see what happens. It doesn't allow me to run. Now it says the container name Jenkins Blue Ocean. What is the name? Here you can see already in use. I'm trying to use the same container name, but I stopped the container. But even though I stopped the container, since I didn't include the --rm option when I was running earlier, what's happening? It's maintaining this particular storage related container ID, storage related ID, because there's a separate running ID, the store related ID. So therefore, I won't be able to reuse the same name again. Right? But now Okay, now it didn't run, no, right? If I remove this image and if I rerun the command, it will allow me. Okay, let's try it. Right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say docker rm. I'm going to remove this particular ID which is attached to the storage of the container. Let me remove it. Okay, now removed. Okay, now I am going to run this command again with the RM option because this time I don't want to have the issue again when I stopped and running. Right? I'm going to run it now. It will allow me. And now you can see there is no such output earlier as well. Earlier it shows the log, but now I suppress that one by asking detach. So therefore it return me the control. Okay, return me the control. Now let's check the container from here. Docker ps. You can see it is running and I am having the control as well, no problem. Now if I stop, okay, now I'm going to stop it from here. I'm telling, okay, let's, okay, we use this command. From here we can stop. Docker stop, right? And I'm going to use my CP, right? So this ID. Stop it. Okay. Now it's stopped. Now if I repeat the same thing, now you know what's going to happen. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing. Will it block me? Can't block me because I have run the container previous time with remove. So as soon as it stop, it automatically remove all the related things to the container, including the container ID plus the storage attached ID. Okay. So if I paste it now without any issue, I should be able to run with the same name. You can see that. So I use the same name, so no issues at all. I can run it. So that's the behavior when I use minus minus rm minus minus detached options. So very important to understand and get used to those syntaxes, right? Because in production environments, better to include these options when you're running the images, right? Okay. So that is prior to going to the Kubernetes cluster, deploy into a manifest. You may try to test these images within your local machines with separately composing Docker images, right? So on that environment, you can use this. Because of course, in Kubernetes environment, we are using manifest file for deployment. It's a different thing. You will learn it later. Okay, so I think now we have a better understanding than the previous session of what's happening here. I think it is time for us to, okay, let's get down. Now we have, okay, let me show you another thing. This is all for your understanding. I'm telling you, getting more familiarizing with our environment. Now, we have this ID, no, this one. If you want to see where it is storage ID this belongs to, you can go here, right? I think I'm already in that place, mounts pwd. All the storage IDs which are related to containers are stored in this place. Yeah, Docker image overlay to layer DBs mount. So if I just run ls, I removed that one earlier, but the storage ID which I just, yeah, let's check it. This ID, no, what is the latest one? AE5, no, this one, AE5. So yeah, this one, right at the top, the latest one, AE5 is here. So all the storage related container IDs are located in layer DB mount. That is because I am using overlay 2 type storage. Keep it for the time being if you don't understand what is overlay. So those are storage types in Docker, right? So let's understand those in later. Right, I think even here, if you take a look at the updated one with Jenkins, I saw somewhere they are using this overlay. They are using it for Docker in Docker. This one you can see for DIND for Docker in Docker image, right? You can see this is for Docker in Docker, right? Jenkins Docker. Yeah, DIND. This is for Docker in Docker. DIND, not Docker in Docker, right? For this one, they are specifically telling storage driver is overlay 2, right? Whereas in our original command in the document, we are not telling, right? We are not telling in our dind. This is our no, this is the version. Once you go up, you can see this one. dind. So we are not mentioning here, but anyway, for our this is our environment. The depot anyway, the depot driver is overlay 2, right? Okay. Okay, we are fine now. We have the environment and we have better understanding. Like we are getting more little by little get into the details of comprehending what is happening here, right? So the next thing now is to connect to our Jenkins environment, right? So we have the password. I think you saw that one. Okay, now let's say since I have run it several times now, right? Now I want to get the password back again. Very easy. You can say Docker here. Let me get the ID. I want to get back my logs later. Right now, I don't see the logs, no, right? Because I ran the minus RB touch and those things, so I don't see anything, right? So because everything is suppressed and is only giving me this ID, right? But if I want to see the details of what's happening, I can just say Docker logs, right? And I want to see the log because when it's running, only the container comes up. So I can see the Jenkins logs from here by just giving, and I can say minus details to see the details. Right? You see that if you get that command minus details command. Minus is the command. Details, you can see the output, it shows me the detail log, and in that you can see the password dashboard. The initial Jenkins password. I think we are good to connect to Jenkins, so we can connect. I think the document also it is given, so you can see, yeah, it's telling those things. And finally, and I can go. Either you can say 10.0.2.5, that means the local IP, but you can say local can say 88. That's a default port, no, right? And by the way, I can show you another thing. Yeah, this password where it is var Jenkins, no. Now in which var? Now this is showing the Docker logs, no. Now this particular Jenkins is running within the Docker, no. That means it's in a container. So now I have a container, right? The container is there. The container is there. Container ID is there. So if I connect to the container, I can connect to the container because it's a separate machine. It's like a separate, operating system and like that. So it's a tiny machine, tiny computer. Right? I can connect to it. Right? So I think there are different methods to connect. We'll use this method, Docker execute IT like this. Let's do that one also. Right? Let's connect to that one. I'm connecting to this one. And you can see here, I'm going to copy and paste, right? And I'm going to get the bash shell, bin bash, right? Depends on the configuration. This Jenkins image has the bash shell, or I can get the set, depends on the configuration, right? While we are composing the image, we can use those in this shell, right? It's okay. And so now where am I? So if I say the host name, I'm in my container. Now it's no longer in my virtual box, right? I am not in the guest host. I am within that. I have gone to another container. So I am in that. If I type IP address, so it will give me the IP address of not my local host. Now this is giving me 172 means it is the IP address of the container, right? So now I can go into that directory where I say this one var Jenkins secrets. Because Docker logs is gives me the logs within the container. So let me get into that. If I go here, I am there now. And if I type ls, because I should be able to see this one because it's telling me initial password is located there. Okay. So till I change the password, that's the password I had used to log into Jenkins. So you should be able to see that. Here we have initial password. So even if I cat from here, I am typing cat command, I should be able to get it. Cat password So this is one. Same password, 6682. So it's what is shows here, 6682. Okay. Again, that is for you to understand. Okay, let's exit from here. And let's try to connect to this one Jenkins server. Or let's see whether we can we go create one of these folder parameters. Let's go with localhost 8080. Let's see. Localhost 80. Should be able to connect. Yeah, looks like this coming. Okay, here we go. For the first time. For the first time when you run Jenkins, so this is what happens, right? It says unlock Jenkins to ensure Jenkins is secure administrator password. So by default, this is the password. So default login is admin, right? So we have to paste the password, right? Get the password from here and this one. We can right away paste it. And we can say continue, right? No need to save that one. So very first time when it does, it's trying to get certain plugins pulled and install suggested plugins, select the plugin. So I can say suggested plugin, no problem. That's okay. So you can click suggested plugin, so it will get the default things like Git and Maven and those stuff. And if you give me the environment once it's done, right? So that's what it says. Enter the above initial password, install suggested plugins. Create the first admin user. Okay, we can create it once it's done. Give the instance URL. Yeah, those are next 2 steps. Right? Okay, so this might take a time. This might take depends on the internet speed. This might take 4 to 5 minutes. Right. So let me stop the video here. I think it's almost 20 minutes. So in the next video, we'll continue from here. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. If you like the video, you can put the subscribe. Okay. I'll meet you soon. Okay. Bye bye.